unfortunately do get quite a lot of dental disease, and it's part and parcel of the way we keep them. Most of the animals that we associate ourselves with and busy ourselves with, diet and the type of diet plays a crucial role in their dental health and overall health because of it. So periodontitis, or infection around the tooth, which you will also get a lot more of when we talk small animals, is usually in about 2 different age categories of horses. The periodontitis is where the plaque will accumulate on the tooth itself, and because of the action then on the gingiva, it usually goes subgingival, and it can cause infection in that area. Now, horses' teeth continuously erupt. So unlike our teeth and unlike dogs and cats, where the plaque just sits there, it moves, the tooth moves, and it pushes it away from the gingiva. But there are 2 age categories where they are more prone. The one is when they're young, between 2.5 and 5 years. And immediately I want you to think eruption sequence, and I want you to tell me why. Why do you think this is going to be an age group, age category, where periodontitis in food can get trapped, where bacteria can be more of a problem? Any ideas? Yes. Yes. Okay, so the first one, you're absolutely correct. Between 2.5 and 5 years is when they're changing their dentition. And sometimes in horses, when the permanent tooth is pushing through and the deciduous cap sits on their tooth, and until it really gets pushed off, it's going to be trapped there. And food and bacteria therefore trapped underneath it. So we call it dental caps, and that is nothing else but the deciduous tooth that is still in place. Only once that has been removed does the food and everything get to be distributed normally. So this is a group where you can get periodontitis because of the caps that get trapped. Older than 10 years, they shouldn't start losing their teeth. Older than 10. Horses should, by natural means, start losing teeth in their mid-20s. Mid-20s to late 20s. That's when the tooth is fully erupted, and now you sit with a very short root, and they will start losing them because there's just nothing holding them on it. But once the permanent set of teeth are there, you also get what's called diastema, which I will show you now, where gaps between the teeth start to appear. And the crowns might be close to each other, but there's a gap here, there's a triangular gap, and food gets trapped in there. And food is a very good substrate for bacteria. The plaque starts to form on that food, and that food doesn't get flushed out of the mouth, and these horses then develop infection around their teeth. The diastema, I just mentioned to it, there are various types of diastemata. Now, I hate this term because it's pathology. But if you remember from anatomy, the gap between the incisor teeth and the cheek teeth, it's called the diastema. Some of you have a gap between your central incisors. It's called the diastema. It's a normal space between teeth. So here they're using a normal term for an abnormal process, where that gap between the teeth are actually abnormal. It shouldn't be there. And that's why they call it, or that's where they call it diastema. So please just always remember, if you speak to another colleague and if you phone me and I talk about the diastema, it doesn't always mean pathology. So it could be either the way that the horse's teeth erupt and that there's not enough space, or there's too much space, and the jaws are too long or too short. And therefore the teeth, once they erupt, instead of sitting nice next to each other, they're spaced. And so the crowns are always going to find each other to get a nice improvable surface. And then you're going to see this gap between the teeth. Or it can be with age. As those teeth erupt, their crowns are always going to be a little bit wider on top than what the roots are at the bottom. And as those teeth continuously erupt through age, when they get to the 15s, 18s, the teeth are smaller. And the crowns are still going to find each other. And then you end up with these gaps at the bottom. And that would be senile diastema. Can either be open diastema, so the teeth are situated like this, food can come in and go, or it's going to be a closed diastema where it forms this valve. Where food can go in, it's bigger at the bottom here than what it is at the top. So food can go in, but it can't come out. And that is where they then get trapped, and you're going to get problems with that. So just looking at these two pictures, you get that idea in normal occlusion, even though the teeth are sitting at a variety of angles, at the gingival margin, they've made good contact, so there's no space for food to trap into. Or you sit with this where the jaw is made too long, or as the teeth are aged teeth and they're smaller, there's those gaps that start to appear. And this, we had we've got the page on our top page. We had a student many years ago, and she looked at dental disease of horses that are slaughtered in South Africa. And this is what you can already see. So these horses did not show any dental disease. They were adult horses that went to the slaughterhouse, and you can already see the diastema that appear between those teeth. And as the food gets trapped there, it just causes a lot of infection. So to treat these, the jury is still out, but we do see a lot of it, and I've seen a lot of this in rhinos as well. So it's, I've got a student now that's writing up his work that we did in Natasha, and in those black rhino, feeding of natural felt diet, a lot of them have this diastema where food gets trapped. So the idea is to open that to reduce, not make it a valve diastema, but make it an open diastema. So food can fall out, but if food gets trapped, you can also help the horse to remove it, flush them out on a regular basis. They also try and put filling materials in there and all sorts of variety of different ones to try and just put something in that gap, even if you have to redo it a few times, but to prevent food being trapped in between those teeth and creating problems later on. We look at jaw conditions. We do in horses also see prognathism or retrognathism, meaning gnathism means the jaws. So if it's pro, you often have too long the jaw. Graphic gnathism, most of you will know from brachycephalic dogs. So they're ones where the maxilla and the base of the skull is being shortened, and you look like it's got a long mandible. The mandible is the one that's in the correct size. It is the top jaw that is pulled back. In horses, though, we talk of partial or total prognathism or brachygnathism. And the only reason is, do the teeth, do the incisors still have some contact? There will be a partial mandibular brachygnathism in this case, or is there no contact between the incisors anymore? As soon as it's so short that there's no contact anymore, then it's a total brachygnathism, mandibular brachygnathism.